We have the director of Tiger 24, Warren Pereira. Hi, Warren.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Here, let me get you all moved here.
All right.
Okay.
There we go.
When two people are doing the same thing at the same time. Yeah, no, I saw Tiger 24 several months ago. So, very impressed by not only the documentary itself, but by the story of the documentary. But can you, just for the sake of the audience, just describe what is your story about?
Yeah, sure. It's about a tiger that I was following in the wild, and he ended up killing people, and he was declared a man eater. But there was a controversy because he was killing people within his territory, in the jungles of India. And so when the government removed him, he became a huge deal. There was a high court case, a Supreme Court case, and then there was billboards erected and all this stuff. And so I happened to be the guy following him before he was a sensation. So I had all this professional 4K footage of him, and then I realized, I have a real documentary here. I got to actually take this seriously. And, then I had to do the interviews and make a full-on, narrative documentary. And it forced me, which was a good thing, to really understand how to manage a tiger reserve and all the controversies and bureaucracy around it.
Yeah, I mean, it just struck me how much is it? I'm sorry, what country is it in again?
India.
It's in India, yeah. I mean, just how much I guess the environment, the animals, the tigers are so beloved in a way by at least half the population. But the dangerous nature of the tigers and the drive to save them and keep them alive is I find an interesting dynamic that goes on in India.
Yeah, I mean, it is the national animal of India, and so it's in the culture to save those animals, but it's also in the law. So they're actually called Schedule 1 animals that have the highest protection, and they have all these laws around taking them out of a tiger reserve. So you can't just say, okay, this tiger killed someone, and so we're going to shoot this tiger or we're going to move him to a zoo. There's an entire process behind it, and I think it's impressive, but I also think it's important because it's very sexy to want to save this beautiful tiger. But when you save these tigers in the wild, you have to save their habitat because their habitats are massive and they have massive territories. So in saving those habitats and territories, you're actually improving the entire ecosystem. You're fighting climate change. You're allowing for species diversity and all kinds of things like that.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the documentary. The thing I appreciate most about documentarians is their ability to shift, because what I got from this is that you went into this documentary thinking you were going to film one thing, and then this event occurred and it shifted the entire thing, the entire story. What were you initially there for, and then what was it like to have to pivot when Tiger 24 Ustad actually killed somebody?
Yeah, I mean, the truth is, I live in LA, and I was trying to get like a narrative script going because I was trying to get a drama going, right? And I couldn't get it going because you need, the money and the star attached and an agent and all these things. But I'm originally from India. So when I was visiting, I started just for fun, went to a tiger reserve and started filming them on a DSLR initially. And I really enjoyed the process. So I thought okay, maybe I'll try to make a tiger doc as a feature and not do this, fictional drama in the US. And so that's how it started. So it started I really didn't know what I was doing, to be honest, just get cool shots and put something together. And I think that's the nature of most of these big cat docs. They have a bunch of shots and then they create a story around it. But then I ended up having a legitimate, really serious, important story when this tiger, allegedly killed people and was then, moved into a zoo.
Yeah, so this is the interesting thing I find. But what was it like when he was essentially arrested? I mean, I mentioned that he killed someone. The documentary makes it clear that that's still in question. We don't know who did it, and I think basically your film becomes a police procedural at this point, a crime procedural,
right?
How were you able to basically change gears and say, wow, we're telling a completely different story, and now you have a whole bunch of completely different players now involved in your story?
I mean, in a way, it kind of informed the narrative, right? Because now we actually had something to focus on. The whodunit, the legalese around a man-eating tiger, an icon for conservation, and a much deeper story. So for me, the shift was actually a good one, but obviously it made it a lot more serious. I think if I just had the footage of him like dragging prey and mating or fighting with other tigers or walking around, I think it would be relatively boring. And I would feel less of a connection and importance to it. But I found myself opening up the Wildlife Protection Act of India, and I remember those days initially when I was looking into this stuff. I said, "Wow, this is a real documentary. I'm really doing something really important. I got to be careful and respectful." So I mean, the pivot was a good one, but it sort of killed me. Editing this thing has taken years and a lot of money out of me and a lot of time. But that's just if you want to do it right, I think that's how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, it's an incredibly compelling story, and I mean, as much as I love nature documentaries, this just goes wildly in that direction. Hey, if you want to ask Warren some questions, go ahead and post those in the chat. I've got one more, but your subject, Tiger 24, you went in. I just found him very interesting, and I think there seemed to be some kind of a lore around him and a general love for him. I guess he was essentially your main subject going in. Can you talk a little about Tiger 24?
Well, yeah, his name is T24 is the technical name because they numbered the tigers because there's hardly any left in the wild, and Ustad was the name that the locals gave him. Ustad means the master. And he had a mating partner called Noor, and he was monogamous, which is kind of rare for a dominant male tiger, but it made his story more interesting. He was killing or allegedly killing people in between my safaris when I was filming him. So there was this sensation around him already with the locals that he was a man-eater. And they also thought it was cool in a way because he would prevent poachers from going in because he was fearless. Because if you track tigers on foot, which I've done, they'll actually run away from you. They want to avoid any conflict. But he had a reputation, if you came too close, he'd take you out. And so that they felt like he was in a way protecting the forest, away from poachers, etc. So when he became internationally famous, I think the people who already kind of knew him in India, had some ownership over the story. And that's why it became this crazy thing on social media of the activists, fighting against the government. I mean, their argument is that all the attacks occurred within his territory. And the government's argument is that, well, we have to manage a tiger reserve. And so if we don't take some action, the locals can maybe burn the forest or get upset because they're the ones living right by the forest. So we have to take care of them, because really managing a tiger reserve is actually managing all the stakeholders around it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure T24 was not following his contracts. Yeah. Chris, we have questions.
Yeah, I have a question. Warren, first of all, thanks for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it. Didn't realize that you were Los Angeles local. I'm in Pasadena. But also, I'm making 2 documentaries right now, one coming out at a festival in October. Yours a totally different kind of documentary. Documentaries, the 2 docs I'm working on are archival documentaries.
Okay.
I'm looking for footage behind a computer on the internet. You were out there in the wild. Did you ever feel unsafe at any moment? Did you feel like your life threatened at any? I mean, Nate, I always admire nature documentary, any nature documentaries, because to do that, one, you have to have such incredible patience, and 2, your life is often at risk. So did anything happen to you or nearly happen during the filming?
I mean, when you're in the Jeep, which I was for the most part, you're pretty safe, even though it's an open Jeep. Now, in theory, I guess the tiger could come close and just pull you out, especially a big male, like T24. But that, rarely happens. Tourists getting attacked by tigers just doesn't really happen. It has happened, but it's very, very rare. However, for certain parts of this documentary, we got permission from the Forest Department to go on foot, because I wanted, as a filmmaker, to understand how these people got killed. So I wanted to actually walk the path from their home, their village, into the area where they got attacked to understand it. And I honestly was excited doing it. Maybe I'm crazy, but I did purchase life insurance for my crew.
Okay.
So because I didn't want something to happen and me come off as like someone that was not careful. So yeah, I mean, when we walked in, we saw tiger pug marks, we saw some tiger scat, we saw leopard pug marks. In Ranthambore, at least we didn't run into a tiger. I have run into a tiger in another tiger reserve called Bandhavgarh, like a big male, for another tiger dock, which we can talk about or not. But yeah, I don't think. I mean, I don't want to sensationalize what I did. I don't think overall it was that dangerous. I mean, I feel like we obeyed the rules and we're in the Jeep, so for the most part, it was pretty safe.
Yeah. Also, you've got a lot of questions here in the chat. Mind answering some? Got like almost 250 people watching us right now.
Cool.
So let's get to the comments here. Akanika says, welcome, Warren. And Patrick Lemire says, T24 has such a sweet face. And then Dempsey asks, I don't know where he found this out. Is it true that you are a national swimming champion? If so, did that play a part in your direction of the film?
Maybe in the next one on crocodiles, not this one.
Okay. And then Patrick Lemire is asking, did you ever end up in any danger of being Tiger Man?
I don't know what that means. But
or sorry. And then Glenuccio asks, what is the process like to film a project like this?
That it completely takes over your life and you age rapidly and lose all your money. Yeah.
Especially if you're the producer. I know that from experience. Solomon Thornton asks, how long did it take to film this documentary?
Well, I've been working on it for a decade, but there was only about 4 to 5 years of actual production. And then the rest of it was pickup shots and editorial.
And Not the Batman says, if the paw doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Good one,
so
yeah.
I don't know what
All right.
Says, do you have a tiger that you found to be more endearing than others, or maybe a favorite?
Well, T24. I mean, I was following him before he was a big deal, so obviously I was drawn to him.
Yeah. Timelink says the name T24 makes it sound like a killing machine, like the Terminator.
Well, I can't take credit because that's literally he's tiger number 24. So T24 is his technical name. Is the government of India. They number the tigers so they can understand which tiger is missing or not missing or whatever.
And
I think you do get a sense that he was a very unique tiger. That this was not just your generic average tiger, but he had lived in that territory and had ruled that territory for a long time. And then when he was taken out, that territory changed drastically at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think in a way he is the ultimate tiger, right? Big, dominant, killing human beings, sort of the ones that when tigers were hunted legally by the Indian and British royals, that you went for the big male with the big head to have this trophy at home. And I think there should be more of him around instead of all these tigers that are kind of like, like pussycats more, I think he's kind of awesome.
And then another question here. Dempsey says, do you have a tiger that you, oh wait, we already got to that one. Were you afraid that the tiger would turn on your group that was following him?
No, because it's very safe. I mean, obviously we're not provoking them. We're not driving up and trying to provoke him. We're just trying to follow him. So we weren't saying, hey, can we have a bite of your deer? We're just kind of following from a distance.
I mean, first of all, I encourage, not right now, but later, check out the trailer for Tiger 24. It's incredible, amazing. And also it's interesting to see a real tiger. I don't know if you saw the film RRR. They have those digital tigers, like a big scene in the movie. And it works for that movie. This is real. I mean, you're seeing a deer being ripped apart and eaten. It's graphic.
Yep.
Yeah. But it's very natural and it's very predictable. I think that's the thing that doesn't come across is his actions are not unusual. He acted like a tiger.
Yep.
And that's what tigers do.
And then Patrick Lemire says, did you see Grizzly Man? Tigers on Foot? Oof.
Oh, I love Grizzly Man. I really love Grizzly Man. Werner Herzog doc. I think it's really well done.
Yeah. And then Reed by Nature says, what kind of handlers, escorts do you take with you when traveling into tiger territory? Do you need special permission to visit?
Yeah, so you have to get a film permit, which is not the same as a tourist permit. And it allows you obviously to film with a professional camera. And then you have to actually interact directly on the ground with the field director and say, in my case, at least, I had to say, look, I'm following this tiger. I'm not going to fake it. I actually want shots of this tiger, because some other productions pretend one tiger is the next, and I wanted to legitimately do it. Additionally, this tiger was the man-killing tiger or man-eating tiger, so I had to like do things differently, like go on foot to certain places, film the families, you know, that were affected by this animal, which was a very sensitive like issue, because you know you got to ask them like, what can I say, what can I show, because this is your son or your father or whatever, and so that in that sense it was different. About handlers and escorts, I mean, yeah, we have like a tiger tracker, and we have a driver that was awesome that sets up, you know, your Jeep to get the best shots. And after a while, you start directing him as to, okay, stop here, start there, and he kind of knows what you want.
Cool. And then Akanika asks, what started you on this tiger path in the beginning?
I mean, like I said, I've liked tigers my whole life. I didn't know I was going to make this big tiger doc. I wanted to make like actually a narrative script that wasn't going anywhere. Like most scripts don't go anywhere. And so I decided doing this, and then I got into it. I never thought it would take this long. It's been like a decade. I mean, it's finally out in theaters now. We're going to be showing it at the Lemley in actually 3.5 weeks. It's opening on September 30th. So if people really want to see it and they like the trailer, just please come to the Lemley. It could certainly use a ticket purchase.
Cool. And just a couple more questions as we wrap up here. Ferd Turgeson says, Shere Khan.
Yep.
There we go. And Kara is final question here. Is the story over, or will you continue with telling his story?
There's actually been a recent development, and I don't know if I should give it away or not. I think people should come and check out the movie, because you'll see there's a recent development that was not present earlier. We have to change the end a little bit because something just happened a couple of months ago.
Okay. All right. And then last question here. Matthew Hammond, does it make you have more respect for people that work with tigers professionally?
Not really, because you know we're not making them do tricks or anything. It's a whole different thing. And I mean, I'm more into the preservation of the tiger in the wild. I'm not really into tigers performing or in zoos or caged in any form. So I think there's two different areas. I think tiger preservation in the wild is more important to me.
Great. Well, I want to say, Warren Pereira, thank you so much for joining us on the Film Thread Hollywood on the Rocks livecast show on our Wednesday show. Thank you so much. Congratulations on the film. I assume eventually it'll be out on video on demand and on streaming.
Yes, it will. It will. Absolutely.
But check out the trailer for sure. Warren, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thanks guys. Appreciate it.
Take care, Warren.
Bye.
Have a great afternoon.
Bye.
Later.
Bye.